The Pitt expeditions are now live and Union Dues is the very first mission. Here's the complete guide featuring all the 11 objectives, maps and tips on how to quickly achieve a perfect run every time. Let's do this. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Fallout 76 video. Union Dues is a new dynamic mission, the very first of its kind for the freshly released expedition system. In this guide I'm going to explain how everything works, starting with the modular system and the objectives pool, which includes 11 different tasks. Now for each expedition only a few objectives will be selected, but nonetheless I want to give you the full scope because you never know what objectives will you get next. Well then, let's get straight to the point. What objectives are there for Union Dues? Expeditions is based on a modular system as the game files reveal. To make it simple, basically each objective belongs to a module, and in-game, when you enter an expedition, the system will fetch an objective randomly from the given objective pools, which has some strict rules. I don't want to overcomplicate it here, but for the hardcore fans, you can see how Bethesda labels different types of objectives, such as assassination, defend NPC, gather and deposit, solve locks, and so on. Now for Union Dues, there are 9 primary dynamic objectives and 2 fixed secondary objectives. If you are feeling a bit confused, don't worry, I spent hours mapping the files for you. Here it is, all the 11 objectives for this mission, as well as their order, locations, and sub-pools. The objectives pool is not generic or broad, it has subcategories. For example, for the very first objective, the system can only choose between 3 objectives, not all 11. Defend Union Saboteur, defend Union Transmitter, or kill 3 Manhunters. The same logic applies for Objective 2 and 3, they have their own sub-pools. However, the secondary objectives and the 4th primary are always fixed, always the same. The system has no choice in here. Well, at least now you know what to expect from Union Dues and its dynamic random selection for objectives. I'm going to explain each one soon enough, but for now, let's move on to the maps. Alright, Union Dues is set on a small area of the Pitt called the Industrial District, and to make things more challenging, Bethesda did not include maps for these new regions. However, the 76 community has already created maps, which makes navigation so much easier. Now, I'm not sure who created those, so giving credit is not possible. Anyway, this top view map might look a bit hard to read, especially because there's no guidelines or info, but hold on. I also found a second version which is much easier to understand. Now, the Industrial District is relatively small, the map itself is like a square, and there are only 4 main points. The vertibird where you spawn, the Penn, a town to the very north of the spawn point. Then you have the steelworks, supply depot straight to the left side, and finally the shipping yard, all the way across the map. Let's not forget about the 2 entry points inside the Foundry. The main entry is the bottom one though. Sadly, I could not find an info map for this instanced area. I know this is the most difficult part to navigate. It's huge with dozens of rooms and platforms, but at least this provides a little advantage. At least you can map it out in your mind with this map. If you wish to save those for later, go ahead and download the maps below the video. Now, as a crucial tip for navigation inside the Pit, always use your compass to find your next objective. The system often guides you with mission marks, so don't ignore your only in-game tool to quickly get things done. I know there are a few exceptions, some objectives simply say search the area, but for the most part, you can always guide yourself through the compass. Before I go over each objective, I just want to mention that expeditions can be very different depending on what role you play. As a team leader, you have a huge level of control over your run, and no, I'm not exactly referring to the pause and resume options. I'm talking about objective management and mission progression. Only team leaders can begin and complete main objectives, as well as play dialogues and force the entire party to fast travel with them in and out of the Foundry. Sure, as a team member, you can contribute to complete objectives like looting mission items or killing key NPCs. However, you are not able to proceed to the next objective on your own. like talking to X or Wicker in Union dues. So your role and what you have to do for each objective highly depends on your role in the team, just to make it clear. To start Union dues, or any expedition mission really, you need to collect 100% ultracell batteries. If you are not sure how to farm those, then feel free to check my other guide here. Basically, you need to complete a new Responders mission called Responders Reborn, and then complete their daily missions. It's currently the only way to obtain ultracells. However, you don't have to start your own expedition, you can always join someone else. Remember to use the respective menu to join the run once you join an expedition team, as shown in the footage. Teammates can only join if the leader is already inside the run though, not before. Now if you already farmed 100% ultracells, go ahead and access the expedition button through your map's interface and begin your own adventure. As a team leader, make sure to request landing through the intercom, or else the mission won't begin, not on its own, unless you are a team member. Lastly, you can pause and resume your own expedition as a leader at any given time. Resuming works just as joining someone else's expedition. The menu is pretty much the same. Lastly, you cannot start a new run without finishing or dropping the ongoing mission, so remember that. Once inside the pit for Union dues, it's time to talk to X and receive your first objective. Now, for the sake of this guide, I must mention that expeditions have no time limit, so take your time to explore and understand how everything works, if you have the time for it, of course. Otherwise, you can just fully watch this guide, and I can assure you, you will be more than updated and ready for it. For the very first objective, there are 3 possible choices as shown. Let's start with the most common one, at least in my experience, to defend the Union Saboteur. He spawns close to the shipyard. The compass marker should make it easier to spot him. He is right here under this sort of bridge. Anyhow, the Saboteur will request a password, and guessing is your best bet to get things going. Trust me here. There is no dialogue restrictions or penalties for guessing wrong, so go ahead and crack it. After getting it right, he will move to the heart of the shipyard. Then all you have to do is protect him while he sabotages the Fanatic forces by planting explosives at their precious cargo. There are 4 stages, sort of waves, but fear not. This objective is pretty easy for teams, since not many Fanatics will spawn. It's also very doable for solo. However, keep an eye on the NPC and heal him if necessary, using the friendly fire perk and a fire weapon. The second possible objective here is the Union Depot. You always have to place it here, inside the supply depot barracks at this exact spot in the footage. Then it's time to play tower defense, literally. Waves of Fanatics will spawn over time and you have to fend them off while the depot is getting secured. Now the tricky part is, as long as there is a single Fanatic alive, the progress bar stops. It freezes in time and space. As such, you should kill enemies on sight. As a team, you should spread out to cover all the entry points in order to kill enemies as soon as they spawn. It's the quickest way to do it. Otherwise, this part can take some minutes to complete because they keep spawning over and over, and it's rare to find a moment where there's literally no enemies around the depot. The last option for the first objective is to kill 3 Manhunters, a special type of Fanatic. They can spawn all over the map, so this one is hard to go into specifics when it comes to locations, but they never spawn inside the Foundry, it's always outside. But they are fairly easy to kill, by the way, as you can see. From the 3, this is by far the quickest one to complete. It just requires some fierce running, especially when they spawn quite far apart. But other than that, there's no difficulty here. Okay, now it's time to head to the Penn, a town straight north of the vertebrates spawn, to talk to X. Complete the first objective and proceed to the second. For this part, she is always located in this first floor room of the middle building, the room with all the TV screens. It's pretty hard to miss. In the next door's room, you can find Wicker, the NPC responsible for secondary missions. If you are aiming for perfect runs, make sure to talk to him and trigger both Steel Ingots and Union Supplies objectives. Let me explain how those work. Secondary objectives are always fixed for every single Union Dues mission. The rules are also simple. For the Union supplies, it's a huge light blue crate, which can spawn anywhere inside the Foundry only. For this one, there is no mission mark, so it might be a bit challenging to spot it right away, but there is a proximity sound trigger, so it's a little help. It's the same one used for the now retired Nuclear Winter orange crates. As such, when you are approaching the supplies, you will hear this sound. When you do, make sure to move towards the sound until voila, it becomes higher and higher, and then eventually it's at your feet and you find it. But keep in mind that the box can easily be misseen when spawned close to similar assets, you know, with similar textures, colors, and so on, so scan the area well. As for the steel ingots, they can spawn all over the place. It's hard not to complete this one, honestly. Currently, there are 30 possible spawns according to the game files, but only a few spawn per run. The good news here is that you only need 5 in total. Now, there are 15 possible spawns inside the Foundry and another 15 possible spawns in the Industrial District. I would love to show you all the spots, but that alone would make a long video, so let's not go there. Even though the spawns are fixed, each run only spawns a few, which gives the illusion that the spawns are actually random, when in fact they are not. Now, steel ingots do have an objective marker, but it works based on proximity only. So when you are far away, it will not show anything. The trigger rule is exactly 15 meters, as I tested here. Anything past that, well, the mark will not show up anywhere, as you can see. This objective is clearly another case of open your eyes widely and pay attention to your surroundings. Back to X, it's time to head inside the Foundry to find out what's your second primary objective, which can range from only two options: to recover Fanatic plans or kill the Fanatic Warden and free Union prisoners. As for the first one, the Fanatic plans are inside locked green safes, which can spawn all over the place, really. Thankfully, mission marks work widely here, so just follow your compass and get your lockpicking skills to work. The locks are always level 0, so it's a pretty easy job. Now, these safes can sometimes disguise themselves with other light green furniture or spawn in unexpected places, like at the top of furnaces. What the hell is that? So my tip here is again to pay attention when you are close by. At some areas there are platforms and rooms, so make sure to check vertically when you don't spot the safes straight away. For the second objective, it's more like 2 in 1. First, you need to track the Fanatic Warden, which often spawns at the convey layer room. He's like a mini boss, tougher than usual Fanatics, but fairly easy to defeat nonetheless. Anyhow, don't forget to loot the prison key from his body. Then it's time to free the Union prisoners from 2 cells. There are different prisons spread inside the Foundry, but you don't always have to open the same exact ones. Again, just follow your compass and you should have no problems doing this part. Follow the marks, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Alright, in Union dues, the second and third objectives are always inside the Foundry, and the third starts as soon as the second is completed. For this part, there are 3 possible options as shown. I would say this stage is the most time consuming, especially for solo players. All of the objectives take time and they can be tricky to complete. Let's start with the Coolant Job, which basically requires players to pick up coolant from a nearby freezer. It will be shown with the mission mark. Then you need to find a nearby toxic container and throw the coolant inside. Now when you pick a coolant, it will auto-equip as a grenade and make you really slow because you are supposedly frozen a little bit. Then all you have to do is throw the coolant inside the toxic barrel. To do that, you just have to use your throw key like a grenade. It auto-equips once you pick up the coolant. For this one, I faced many bugs though, like here I wasn't able to throw. I had to swap weapons to do so, then it worked. Sometimes the coolant also goes through the container, forcing players to redo the job. But this is how it's done. If it fails, then know that it's a bug. Just go ahead and do it again until it works. When successful, the toxic goo will freeze up like this. That's the visual indicator it registered and you are good to go. Next in line, there is the Chem Lab Job, which requires players to collect 3 different items: the chemical containment, which looks like this sort of orange plastic container, and it can be found all over the place on furniture like tables or metal shelves. Then we have the sealing agent. You can loot them from these blue boxes, similar to the lower crates in Nuclear Winter. Lastly, to collect the unstable mixtures, you need to kill Fanatic chemists, which spawn around the objective area. Don't forget to loot the bodies, or you cannot get this one. Don't forget to deliver each material to the respective machines to sabotage the Fanatic's lab and complete the objectives. The mission marks won't let you miss the spots for sure, so keep your eyes on your compass when you have collected everything. Last but not least, there's the poison gas tanks. They spawn across 2 random areas inside the Foundry. They look like these orange and black tanks, and you can easily destroy them by pointing and shooting. They are quite huge, so you can see them from afar, no problemo. For the most part, there are no mission marks here, so you have to spot the tanks by searching around. I'm telling you, it's all about being aware. However, if you are stuck on the last tank, the system will show a mission mark, as it happened to me here. It's a pretty nice touch to get unstuck. Note that these gas tanks can spawn on platforms and sometimes behind other assets, so make sure to put your detective hat on to get it done as quickly as possible. Most of the mission is done at this point, but not without the 4th and final objective, which is a fixed one. Players need to defend the Penn as soon as they exit the Foundry after completing the 3rd objective. And it's a true race against time. Make haste to the town and defend the Union members from a merciless Trogg invasion. Waves of Troggs will spawn, as well as the Trogg Devour boss. The goal here is obviously to defend all NPCs. If one of them dies, the objective will fail automatically. Without you knowing though, until the very end, so it's a bit sneaky. But I have good news, NPCs will go down first before they die, so you get a second chance to revive them and save the objective. For this final battle, I have a few tips to make things easier. First of all, as a team, spread out and control the Trogg invasion. Don't let them overwhelm you. The acid spit can easily turn the game around. Secondly, when Troggs are too close to NPCs, try to tank and take damage yourself. If you use a bloodied build, it's a good idea to use a rat away and play safe with a bit more HP, because dying is a big no-no here. If you die as solo, then game over. There is no second chances for you. The objective will fail since there is no one left there to defend the feeble NPCs. I would suggest NPC healing using friendly fire, but that only works in teams. Troggs have area of effect attacks and can easily outdamage your healing, so don't do it if you are solo, because it will most likely not work. The boss also has this blinding skill which turns player screens full white, kinda disorients you, making it very hard to fight or protect the NPCs, so watch out for that as well. I found out that moving a lot is also a good idea to first dodge the enemy attacks, they are melee mostly, and also to dodge the spits, so it's a good idea to move overall. The best defense here though is offense, so kill these Troggs as soon as possible and mission complete. Less chances for the NPCs to die and more chances for you to get done off there with a huge success in your hands. Head to X to complete the last objective. She is right at the fighting scene, so very hard to miss. Then go talk to Wiki inside the building to deliver the steel ingots and the Union supplies. Otherwise, the secondary objectives will not be marked as completed. I know, it's a bit annoying, but it's a realistic step. You collected something, so you have to give it back. I'm just adding this point here because it's easy to forget about it. One time I forgot to deliver, I went straight to Lennox. Yeah, all that work for nothing. So I learned the hard way, therefore I'm trying to prevent that from happening to you. Now, all what's left to do is return to Appalachia, but please do not use escape or try it through unconventional ways. Talk to Lennox and ask her to return home. That's it. You'll be back inside the vertibird and the expedition's rewards interface will pop up with your results. Then finally, you will be back in Appalachia, safe and sound, ready for another round. If you are wondering why should you care about all objectives, let me give you a quick answer. The more objectives you complete, the better rewards you receive at the end. A perfect round, where all objectives are done, provides max stamps, 10 for leaders and 8 for non-leaders. It also unlocks a free weekly unique plan from Giuseppe's pool. If you would like to see all the free rewards you can get from the Pitt expeditions, then go ahead and watch my other video here. I also explain how the reward system work. On the other hand, if you don't care about rewards, you might as well just rush everything and ignore objective completion, because that works perfectly well for the sake of weekly challenges. Just go for it and be done. Well, that's my complete guide for union dues. I hope you were able to learn something new. This is a rather straightforward mission with a touch of variety. It just takes some getting used to, in my opinion. Now, I think Bethesda's intentions with the modular system were good, but after dozens of runs, things can get old very quickly, so that touch of dynamism can quickly fade away. Moreover, you also might want to know that there is hidden lore in this map. And no, I'm not talking about random notes like a shopping list. I'm actually working on another guide with all the new lore holotapes. The locations are rather sneaky and hidden. Alright, that's it from my part. If you have any questions, feel free to ask below. Also, do let me know if you would like an in-depth guide like this for the second mission, From Ashes to Fire. This guide took me several days to complete, so feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to support this type of content. It's highly appreciated. A huge thanks to all my dear members and patrons too. That's it for now. I will see you all very soon in the next video. Until then, take care, adios, bye bye.